In this video, I'll be sharing with you how to level up your vocabulary in just a few steps. My name is Marlon, and on this channel, I share with you tips and strategies in ways you can improve your life. If it's your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe and drop a like on this video. If you're returning, same thing, make sure you drop a like on that video. If you like it, let me know in the comments below. If you don't like it, let me know in the comments below, because I'm always willing to improve and I definitely would love your feedback. So the two most straightforward ways of improving your vocabulary is reading and writing. And this is the most commonly known thing that everyone preaches on, myself included. So reading's really good because no matter what you read, you will increase your vocabulary the more you read. So as I said, it doesn't matter what you read, because words are going to keep repeating over and over again. No matter what it is, you just keep reading. And over time, those words are going to get into your memory and you're going to start using them more frequently. So for writing, the reason why writing's also straightforward is the fact that when you're writing anything down, you will be getting into situations where you need to describe something and you won't know the proper word for it. So you have to go and look it up or figure out a new way of verbalizing something else. Because at the end of the day, that person doesn't see you face to face. You have to be able to properly express your feelings through pen and paper or through text, whichever one it is. So that is the second most common way that most people talk about. I would recommend reading more, because you'll come across words you never even thought about in comparison to writing, because writing you could limit yourself as far as what you're putting on paper. Since we covered the two most common ways of actually increasing your vocabulary, let's go over some uncommon ways. Now, with this day and age, one of the coolest things you can do is use Audible, which is what I use. That is a more uncommon way of increasing your vocabulary, especially if you're listening to audiobooks, is because you're going to be listening and you're going to start absorbing that information. So the more you listen to audiobooks, the same thing like reading, the more and more those words are going to start getting into your brain, and you're going to start being able to use those because you'll hear ways they're being used and you can apply those to your life. I like the listening a little bit more than reading because I actually wear glasses and sometimes I don't want to wear my glasses all the time. So listening is a lot more beneficial for me, and that's one of the most uncommon ones. The second uncommon way of increasing your vocabulary, which is something I had to do because as growing up, I really didn't know a lot of words I could use to describe certain things. So if you're in a conversation, or if you get in a situation where you're talking to somebody and you're saying a lot of ums, or you're saying a lot of know what I mean, or just filler words, and you know you're saying these filler words, after that conversation is over, take some time and just look up a word that means what you actually meant to say. Because at the end of the day, one of the most annoying thing being on the receiving end of know what I mean is annoying because you don't know what they mean. And it's a very annoying thing to deal with. And on the receiving end, where you're talking to somebody and you feel like they're talking to you like you're involved in this conversation before you were even there. And that's one of the most annoying things to actually deal with on the receiving end. So definitely say, if you are somebody that deals with a lot of filler words like know what I means, just take some time, just look up one word once a week, or if you notice yourself, look up the proper word for it so you can at least say it. Or if you're typing to somebody, which is the easiest way to do it, which goes back into writing, and you know you're typing and you're gonna write or know what I mean in your actual text, pause, just don't send the text, go look up the proper way of describing it, use Google, you have tons of things to access to actually figure out proper words. You can literally Google synonyms for this, and just add an adjective or whatever you need, or a verb or whatever, you can do that. So take some time, just start putting those words in. Even if it's not the same word, that does not matter. What it's gonna do is get you in the habit of stop using your filler words, and it's also going to get you in the habit of start using different words and building up your vocabulary. The third most uncommon way to build your vocabulary, which Might be embarrassing for some people, but you shouldn't really feel embarrassed because nobody feels that same way about you. So asking, what do you mean? So if you're in a conversation with somebody and they're talking to you and they use a big word, and normally, like me, I use context clues to figure out what words mean inside of conversations. So let's say if somebody says, hey, that's a very big car, I know what the word big means. Well, let's say same conversation, say, hey, that's a very giant car. Now, me, I can see the car. And if I look at the car and I know they're saying, hey, that's a very giant car, and I'm thinking, okay, that's a big car, context cues, they're saying the car is big. It's giant, big, a little bit different, but it means large, which that's another different word you can use. So if you're in a situation where you can't really figure out the context of the conversation, so let's say they're describing that same car and the car isn't around you and you don't understand like the word huge or big, very simple examples, just ask, hey, what do you mean? What does this word mean? You might think this might be embarrassing, but it's really not. Most people will love to hear when you ask questions about stuff like this, and the reason why is it shows to them that you are listening to them and you're very interested in what they would like to say. And one of the biggest things, people love listening to themselves talk, and people love being listened to. So just ask, hey, I don't understand what that means. Can you please explain it a little bit better? And they will. If you're in a situation where they don't, you probably should just not talk to them anymore because they're extra rude. But I would say around 90% of people, if you ask, hey, what does that mean? They'll pause to explain. And then you just keep doing that. If you don't understand, there you go. Because at the end of the day, all it's going to show is that that person you're talking to, they know that, hey, this person's really interested in what I'm saying. And let me help them understand, because they're going to keep talking to you because they're trying to explain something to you anyway. And instead of you sitting there blank faced, not knowing what they're saying, and then they're talking to you and then they come back and ask you a question about it later on, and you didn't really understand what they were talking about. Now you're in a situation where they might think, hey, this person just doesn't listen to me. Whereas if you ask them, hey, what does this mean? I don't really understand that. And they explain it. Even if they come back later on to talk to you and you don't really know how to continue the conversations, they're like, oh, well, they were asking me what this means. Perfectly good. I know they had interest in this conversation. They may have just forgot something. And that is the easiest thing I would say to do. Don't feel embarrassed about it, because we all do it. We all ask, what do people mean, all the time. It's a normal thing that we all do. So that was my common tips and my uncommon tips on how to increase your vocabulary. In the comments below, post something that you've actually done to increase your vocabulary. I would love to hear about it. So that's the end of the video. If it looks like I swapped shirts, I definitely did in 2 seconds. This isn't pre-recorded at all. But make sure you watch one of my other videos that's right over here. And make sure you hit that subscribe button at the bottom and follow me on all my social media. And I'll see you guys next time.